My name's Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills you gain from the sport, to ultimately live the life of your dreams. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by our guest, Garrett, who's an Army West Point graduate, Team USA standout. Garrett, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. Please, for everyone that isn't quite aware of who you are and what you've been about, can you share how you got into lacrosse and where you are today?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on here. I got my start from a very early age in lacrosse. I was fortunate enough, my dad played sprint football at Cornell and fell in love with the sport of lacrosse there as well. So when I was a young kid, he made sure that I had a stick in my hands. And, from the time I can remember, I've always been playing lacrosse. So, I've always, I started from an early age, like I said, and worked up through, a program starting really young as a second grader, playing with third and fourth graders, up through, middle school, high school in New Jersey. And then eventually at the academy, which was, an awesome, just an honor to play there. And, I've still had a stick in my hands, and I played some pro ball after I graduated from West Point, and played some box in MLL, and hoping to do the same thing here. Fingers crossed. Hopefully doing the same thing here in the next 6 months or so.
Oh, good. That's so cool. I mean, to be able to, I heard a little bit more of that story, but to be able to take what's going on in your family and play at the highest levels and with teams that are just really high caliber individuals and athletes. Do you have a pinnacle moment in terms of what's been going on in your lacrosse life so far?
Yeah, I would say that I kind of have a pinnacle moment at sort of every level I've played at. When I think back, on my lacrosse years, and I've been fortunate enough to play pro at the international level, and those are unreal experiences in themselves. But when I think about the best lacrosse that I've ever played, it had to have been in college. You're practicing every single day. You've got a real off season. You're really getting after it. My pinnacle experience lies, playing at Army. So really, I've got a number of things that I could really choose from, but I really think that, that pinnacle moment would have had to have been when we beat Navy for our fifth time, my senior year. And, it's just a special rivalry, and every one of those games has all the pomp and circumstance that, any other, big time rivalry would have. But to be the only class, as far as I know, that's won, 5 games against Navy and never lost is huge. And to cap that, my Army career off with a 5th victory over Navy, that's got to be that sets itself apart from the rest of them.
I think that's so cool. I mean, for starters, all of you, thank you for your service. We've had so many great conversations with the West Point grads who've been gracious enough to spend their time on here and connect us. So that's amazing. But to hear that rivalry that you have going on is just some of the best lacrosse. And I think that game's coming up this year, right?
Yeah, it's coming up. I think it's this next week. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be an exciting one again. I think we're going to make sure to try to watch it, and
definitely.
Wish you guys the best of luck for that. Garrett, to shift gears a little bit though, and really focus on what this conversation is about in terms of leadership. What does leadership mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, what a loaded question. There's so much that really goes into leadership, but really for me, when I think of leadership, I think of being a dynamic leader. So obviously, you can look at your book definitions of leadership and why we do it. But really, my takeaway from all of my leadership experiences is that you have to be so dynamic in your leadership style. And so for me, it's more about molding myself to my organization, my subordinates, my teammates, left, right, up and down, and sort of molding yourself to the circumstances and the people that you have in your organization. and taking it to the next level, making a tailor-made solution to accomplish that mission. So really for me, it's all about being dynamic.
I love that, and I haven't heard that definition before, but I see how critical it is. And I think that's something with critical thinkers. There's not one solution to solve a problem. You have to be able to take in the data, make adjustments, continue to change. And as a leader, I can totally understand why that's so important as well. Can you share a past experience, let's say on the lacrosse field and then off the lacrosse field, of how you've exemplified being a dynamic leader or seen someone in a dynamic leader position?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of different examples, you know, and you know, really when I think on the field, you know, as a senior leader, you know, on the field, you know, at the academy, for instance, you know, I had teammates that, you know, wouldn't necessarily respond to that negativity to getting in their business or yelling at them, and it's more of a, you know, putting your arm around their shoulder, you know, and you know, that positive reinforcement, you know. But there are some people who respond the opposite way. So definitely, you know, within the many attack lines that I've, or midfield lines that I've been on in my career, you know, I've had a lot of experience with guys who kind of respond to both sort of approaches. Yeah, and really it's the same thing with, you know, I'm a company commander right now, and you know, I have platoon leaders, and you know, my guys don't respond to micromanaging, you know, and I think that's another thing. So really for me, you know, it's about giving guidance, being clear, and then I let my platoon leaders go about their business and accomplish the task they need to. And obviously, as a leader, I check on them, and you know, I ensure they're doing what I want them to do, but ultimately allowing them to sort of be their own boss to a degree, to a certain extent, and let them you know, accomplish what they believe is in line with my priorities.
And giving them the power and empowering them to be successful is what I see great leaders continue to do time and time again. And Bill Belichick just pops up to me when I think about him saying, do your job. Everyone has a role, especially on a lacrosse team. There's 10 people on the field, but there's sometimes 30 that are off the field. That last person on the bench still has a role. And it's so critical that everyone does it to the highest degree possible. This conversation usually goes to culture and how you foster a relationship with others so that you can get the most out of one another. In your experience, how have you gotten the most out of your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, really, it starts with, you know, just sort of the fundamentals. You know, I mean, even the highest level leadership is all about fundamentals. There's nothing, you know, sexy that you know, Fortune 500 CEOs are really doing. It's just about you know, laying down the you know, the expectations, the standards, and you know, the roles that people play, and you know, that coupled with you know, just identifying or just laying out where we're going, and you know, those standards coupled with, you know, that higher vision really provides that laser focus to allow people to get after to do their job, you know, in line with, you know, that bigger sense of purpose.
And for me, what's coming up is the idea of goal setting. At the end of the day, if you want to get somewhere, you have to have an idea, first of all, where you want to be, and you have to be specific with that. Once you have that, then you have a strategy to get there. And like you said, that laser focus ensures that you're not distracted and you don't fall off. And having high standards makes it so that you can accomplish those and you have habits in place. Can you share a little bit about what your mindset is in terms of standards for the lacrosse field and how you were able to continue to elevate to the next level of play? I think that would be great for younger generations of lacrosse player.
Right. And you know, like I said, when we're talking about standards and, you know, expectations, I mean, you know, you have, you know, what I call, you know, really a social contract, you know, really with your teammates, with your coaches, with the program. And the things that I would do to meet that are, you know, hitting wall ball, you know, every day, hitting the gym, you know, getting those extra reps in, or taking a, you know, a younger teammate or a lesser skilled teammate, you know, and doing the same things with them. You know, those are the things that I'm doing within the framework, the vision of our team, and you know, getting after it with those guys. So really, you know, when I'm preparing myself, it's so that I can fill whatever role that I have, sort of contracted myself with, with my team. You know what I mean? So.
I totally get that. And I think you build a bond as well with those other teammates when you go and take them out. And I don't know who said it, but we had them on and they said true leadership and to execute it is taking that guy to the wall and actually putting in some extra time with them. And it sounds like you've done that, which is amazing to hear. Now, off the lacrosse field, how do you hold yourself to high standards and how do you make sure that everyone's brought up to the same high level that you are?
Right, and it's really the same kind of thing. I mean, it's and honestly, the Army kind of makes it easy because there's a standard for everything, and we live by that standard. And really, as a commander or any role that I've been in, I've been in a position where I can take those younger guys under my wing, and with the experiences I've had, sort of shown them the way, and whether that's somebody who's technically a subordinate to me or a fellow teammate, a new commander or a new fellow platoon leader, just being able to sort of show them the way is huge. And you have that responsibility as someone with that knowledge to pass it on, because if it stays with you, then I mean, that's great for you, but are you making your organization better, and are you leaving a legacy?
Oh, and that brings up so much more. I mean, there's something to be said with elders and the spoken word getting passed down from generation to generation, and ultimately a heritage tradition allows an organization, a team, a group to be able to be successful, especially if they've cracked the code, if you will. But you mentioned legacy, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. If you have a personal legacy, a team legacy, or what legacy means for you.
Right. And, honestly, I do kind of look back on my legacy, and, I do have some regrets. There are definitely, with my experiences that I've had in the Army now, and, the clear line of mentorship in the Army, it's very clear, it's very rigid and structured. And I believe I've left my legacy, on the Army, as a dynamic leader, as, someone who's not a micromanager. But the regrets I have a little bit are on the lacrosse field. I was very good in college as a guy who could prepare himself. And I think I would have loved to have gone back and done a lot more mentorship of those young guys. I had a big offensive role on the team, and I really embraced that. But really, where I think I would have made my money in terms of legacy is spending that extra time with the freshmen and the sophomores. We did that, but I wish I had done more.
That's interesting, especially as we've had this conversation and you've talked about being able to be a dominant team, being able to beat Navy 5 times, but you still have that idea that there's more that you could have done and you could have gone back. If let's say that there's a senior on the team right now, or imagine yourself on the team right now, what would you tell yourself as some actionable steps to make sure that you'd feel fulfilled if you were in that same position?
Yeah, I mean, really, the biggest thing is there's always time for it. Especially guys that aren't at an academy where you're jam packed. Literally 24 hours a day are scheduled for you at the academy. That was pretty difficult, and not an excuse on my end, but especially when I'm looking at high school seniors or juniors, coaching those young guys coming up, or really any application, especially in college and high school. But it's so easy to say, hey, can you ask the goalie to stay back, and take a few shots, or ask the star defenseman to do some reps with you one-on-one. And like, those are just the kind of personal bonds that are just, I mean, they're priceless, on a team. And it just goes so far. Because one of the things that I realized later on, in my career at Army, is a lot of the players that I was playing against in practice were better than some of the ones that we would play in the game. And so if you don't take advantage of the guys on your own team, then you're just leaving stones unturned. So there's always more you can do. There's always there's always even 10, 15, 30 minutes after practice or before practice to get some extra reps in.
And you started saying there's always time. And I think that the excuse that I'm busy is something that socially and as a society we've said that's an excuse that's okay to say, but it's not. I
Right.
don't think. I think that successful people they make time for what's important, what they prioritize, and probably stems with having good goal setting in the first place, and knowing that anything that doesn't align to that goal doesn't need to be added into it. So that's where I think prioritization is so key, and I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Now, when we think about our conversation before, Garrett, we talked about some of the Jedi mind tricks that you've learned over the career. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about some of those?
Yeah, sure. West Point has a great program called the Center for Enhanced Performance, and it's run by a guy named Dr. Nathan Zinzer. We call him Doc Z, and we the lacrosse team in particular uses Doc Z. Probably more than any other program. But really, his whole curriculum. I wish I could still do it every single day, because it's really something that just kind of compounds on the things that you've done the day before. But really, it's all about optimization from a mental standpoint. Like you said, just the goal setting piece is huge as well, and it really, for me, it started with goal setting. Kind of understanding where I wanted to go, where I was weak at, identifying those points, and then the CEP uses biofeedback, kind of right off the bat as something that as a tool you use to kind of control your own physiology, which you learn how to control your breathing, which then allows you to impact your heart rate and what your nervous systems are doing. And being able to do so much really really cool stuff, and I can still do a lot of those sort of biofeedback techniques, but it was all about learning how to do that off the field in a very controlled, sterile environment, and then being able to translate that on the field. So I used to shoot a ton, but I used to miss a lot, and that's always tough when you miss a shot. But having a mental trick where I would touch my face mask, spin my stick in my hand, and just say "let's go" under my breath, and that was what would reset my mind. Like that's the physical manifestation of just flush it, and being able to move on. So that was a big part of it, and I learned how to sort of relax the muscles I wasn't using so that I had more breath, more energy in the third and fourth quarter and overtime, which was a big problem with me when I was a freshman and sophomore. So there's just, I mean, I could go on for hours about all the things that I learned, but those are two of the really cool techniques that Doc C imparted on me.
Oh, I'm definitely stealing those ones and telling the guys. I think the idea of flushing what's going on in your mind and saying, "Hey, let's go. We got the next one," is huge. I've gone as far as telling the guys on my team to take a breath and then literally smile at me. And I forced everyone to smile because for some reason there's just a way to get out of your own head. And these 7th and 8th graders are just looking at me like I'm the stupidest person ever. But they turned around, and
It
and
works.
I think it's those the feedback loop that you can get yourself out of. It
Mhm.
is so big. And I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we hit on everything. Can you share a little bit more, Garrett, about what you're up to right now and what some of your goals and priorities are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I'm at a huge crossroads in my career. I'm getting out of the Army in July, and I get out of command, a company command, this week actually, and I'm in the hunt for a job, for some employment here. So that's pretty big. But when it comes to lacrosse, because I think that's probably what everybody kind of cares about. That's one of the big things that I'm working on as well. I'm training up. Hopefully the PLL takes a look at me and picks me up, and I get the chance to showcase my skills again on the field. But at the very least, I'm training up to play for the Albany NLL team, which we just released their names, the FireWolves, last week, or this week. So super excited about that. So I got some really exciting stuff coming up here in the next 6 months or so.
Oh, well, that's cool. So cool. And we wish you the best of luck for lacrosse and life. I know that the transition into the real world or changing whatever that step looks like, it can look different for so many people. So hope it's smooth for you and you find something. And I know the guys at the Alpha Echo project got us all connected. Sounds like maybe you're doing something with them, or what are you doing in terms of lacrosse right now for giving back and helping the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I am working with Alpha Echo Project. Eric, Alexis, and the whole team are just a phenomenal group of human beings. So, I'm working mostly on the youth side of things, and some of the mental performance things that I mentioned earlier with them. So, got some great stuff coming down the pipe with those guys, and hopefully I'll get the chance to get out on a lacrosse field and coach again here sometime soon. So hopefully some youth coaching or any level. Just trying to get back out there and give back to the young laxers of the world.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're able to give back as well. I think that's always something that has been really fulfilling to me and for everyone else that we talk about. Garrett, is there anything else that's on your mind that you want to bring to this conversation or share with the youth?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many so many different things, of course. But I mean, really, like one of the things that we were talking about on the phone last week was, one of the big things was just that integrity, right? And we kind of hit on it earlier, just in those things that you can do to prepare yourself or prepare others, for your team or your company, whatever organization you're a part of. And really, I just want to say that, like we mentioned, there's always time, right? So I mentioned integrity. I think this is a big part of being a leader and just doing those right things, and bringing that organization out, making time for your teammates, and knowing your role, and doing it well.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for closing on such a great point. I think when we have integrity in ourselves, we feel more powerful, and that ultimately allows us to be more powerful with each other. And who knows what's ahead for all of us, but hopefully we can continue to compound great efforts of past experiences and really make a difference. We appreciate you so much, Garrett.
Yeah, thanks for having me.